streets. Everybody knows it's an older type of town. Built one of the originals out here in Southern California. So the streets are very tight and very narrow, and a lot of residential. So it's going to be interesting to see how this car handles that type of situation, and also how the officers handle that situation. Hopefully there won't be any collisions, and hopefully that this will come to an end with just the suspect going into custody and nothing more.
And if we could just go ahead and get a head count that you know of at this point in time, Stu, we have reported at least 2 people inside, and also a report of 3 people inside that vehicle. Do you know if they've been able to kind of hammer down how many people inside this suspect vehicle at this time?
I have not got any information on that. I can try to double check here in just a moment, but as I understand it, is just the driver and the victim.
Okay.
Okay, I just got information. 2 suspects. 2 suspects.
Well, that's what we said at first.
3 people.
So 3 people total?
There we go. He just made a U-turn.
So
made a U-turn and is basically going back north on the 110 freeway.
So 2 suspects and a victim.
And a victim. So 2 suspects and a victim is what we understand now. 3 people inside this vehicle. Okay.
Well, that's what we first reported when we first went on the air, and that had changed.
Doesn't do anything.
So now we have it updated. But what are they doing now? We saw them make a U-turn, Stu. They're now back on the.
They were going to go right back on. We thought they were going to go right back onto the northbound 405 freeway, but I understand that this is the freeway that takes us over to the Vincent Thomas Bridge. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see if that's what's going on, or if they just got back onto the Harbor Freeway. But you can see this vehicle still moving very quickly. Definitely the Vincent Thomas Bridge. Just hopeful that there's not some sort of dramaticness or any kind of reason why they're on the Vincent Thomas, but it definitely seems like he's staying towards the center. That's a little bit of a relief for everybody watching and myself. But the pursuit continues out here. This is another one of those freeways. If you don't really know the area, it doesn't really take you anywhere. It's a big bridge. It takes you into a shipping area, and it's used, you can see right there, used by a lot of the bigger trucks down here by the port. As far as regular vehicles, this is mostly for commercial vehicles.
Well, I can imagine if I'm that victim right now. I'm going to tell you something, Stu, and just in driving across that bridge under normal circumstances, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. So I can't imagine being a kidnapped suspect in that position right now.
CHP, in pursuit of this, this could be a red Toyota. 3 people inside, 2 suspects, and a victim of kidnapping, we're told. We do believe that the driver, at least one of those suspects, has a gun. So obviously there is a high level of danger here. Violence has already occurred when this kidnapping has occurred. This all started in
Palmdale.
Yeah, a deputy there was flagged down by a person, Pat, who said they witnessed the kidnapping, gave a description of the vehicle, and then they were able to locate it, and then that's when the pursuit began. But then also, in addition to that, we understand that the boyfriend of the girl inside, who's the assumed victim here, was able to locate her using technology through an app. And we don't know if there's any way that he's able to, communicate to that person through that app or not, but you would think...
Or if they would even let her answer the phone. They probably have taken the phone from her if that's the case, which we were just sort of guessing that would have been a way for police to have a conversation, as happens sometimes when they have a cell phone, when they're able to talk to the person or persons. We didn't want to get too close, but Stu, we can certainly see someone else in the passenger side of this vehicle.
Definitely the passenger window down there a little bit. You can see a hand outside the window. I would venture to say that is not the female victim. I could be wrong, but I'm just kind of going to throw that out there. It doesn't look like the female victim. And we're definitely in Long Beach right now. We're still on the 47. That's the freeway. We're approaching Ocean Boulevard. And you can see that person in there looking at a phone, maybe even watching us right now on the web. Right there, that's going to be the sheriff's helicopter following it. They're the ones providing the light, and maybe they're doing the same thing.
And they're slowing down just a little bit.
Trying to look inside. Looking inside. They're trying to look inside to see what they can see and the position of the persons inside that vehicle. Definitely,
Yeah, some
that passenger there definitely appears to be male. And so I'm guessing if the victim, and we understand the victim is inside that vehicle, probably in the back seat.
And we also understand the victim is a female, so that would rule that out. You see the glint every now and then from that cell phone there inside of this red Toyota as part of this pursuit. And Pat, you get to this point, you just wonder how this is going to end.
Well,
we got a kidnapping,
do.
you got a gun, you got 2 suspects, you got police. I mean, there's options that they have, but the best thing, of course, would be if this guy was just to pull over and give up. But
yeah,
that very rarely happens.
Hoping upon hope that they're able to have some kind of conversation with this person. I'm sure that they're yelling or they're on the.
Got off the off ramp.
Okay, got off the. Where are they now, Stu? I see. They got off the off ramp.
I was talking to.
Okay.
Yeah, and we understand that this is going to be Pico Avenue near. It's going to be a pier street. So, like I said, this is a very, very industrial area. This is the shipping area for the pier still. Long Beach is the city, but if he keeps going this direction, he's actually moving away from the actual shipping and the pier area. So we're going to start getting back into what I would call more unindustrial. I don't know if that's even a word, but we're moving away from the pier right now. You can see the helicopter still overhead, law enforcement right behind him. And very light traffic this evening where they are, even though he's weaving and making these bizarre turns. It looks like we're going to be getting back onto a freeway. But I think that's just going to be the, it's a 710. So we're going to be getting onto the 710, and it looks like southbound 710. So if we're in Long Beach, everybody knows there isn't much freeway left right here. So we'll keep an eye on it and see where he goes. You'd make more sense if he would have got on north, but we'll keep an eye and see which way he goes. But definitely the 710 freeway on-ramp.
Yeah, you can't imagine this person really in a desperate situation like this, that they're telegraphing where they're going to go and probably just making up as they go along. As we continue to follow this breaking news of, we're talking about 3 people in this suspect vehicle, red Toyota. This is a pursuit that happened, I think it probably started around 10:30 our time. Or 11:30 our time.
Well, we went on the air at 11:30 our time. We start watching it at that time. We know this pursuit started in Palmdale, and apparently from a call, according to sheriff's deputies, that a man said his girlfriend was texting him from inside the car, saying that 2 men had kidnapped her, and they weren't letting her out. She was in the back seat. The 2 suspects reportedly in the front. So just reading this information here, we're not sure if they know each other or if they don't know each other, if this is some kind of domestic situation, but it has gone on now for well over half an hour for sure. When we picked this pursuit up, they were in Van Nuys. So it started in Palmdale. So this is probably about an hour now. Wouldn't you say, Stu?
Yes, we're definitely, we're getting in just touching the hour mark right now. I can tell you that it definitely is the northbound 710 freeway. Just threw a soda or something out of the vehicle. It looked like a Coke can or something like that. Just tossed it out the window just to do something, I guess. I'm not sure what that was all about. The officer's still right behind him, the helicopter right above, and lighting the way. Northbound 710 freeway, we're still in Long Beach, going to be just getting into Lakewood here in just a moment or two. There's going to be some options for where he can go, but right now he might just be doing what most of these pursuit people do. They just try to keep it going and just stay away from the officers as long as they can. Hopefully this comes to an end peacefully. And of course, when it does stop, that's going to be an entirely different situation. They have good reason to believe that this driver or one of the suspects is armed. Kidnapping, extremely serious situation. And so even when it comes to an end, it's going to be very much and officers are going to be doing everything by the book, and they're going to be very standoffish. And it looks like we are changing lanes once again, and maybe taking the 405 freeway. And we'll see which way he's headed. If he goes north, we're going to be heading back to where he started.
He just took that turn
like a little slip.
Little fast. Yeah, I think he tried to slow down before he hit that wall there. I think it's just going a little too fast. That's one of those real hairpin turns as you get off the highway, get back onto another one there.
Yeah, we can see some more movement there. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it almost looks like some arm waving.
Well, wouldn't you like to know what they're talking about in that car? I mean,
well, I would like the police to be in contact with these folks that are, leading them on this pursuit here. Now, Stu, you mentioned they could be on the 405 freeway.
Definitely.
Heading
405
northbound?
Southbound? Nope, southbound. We're going southbound on the 405. Just so you guys know, also, we've been asked by management not to try to peek inside the window. We are going to stay respectfully farther away, just in case there is something that goes on inside that vehicle. So that's one of the reasons why we're not using all the power of the lens in our helicopter this evening.
Yeah, and that's for good reason. Obviously, when you're talking about these desperate suspects and a weapon possibly involved and a kidnapping, there's a high level of danger here. Violence has already been happened and occurred when it came to violently taking this person. We assume it's the woman that's in the back seat. I understand that her boyfriend was able to tell police that she texted him and said that she was in the back seat of this red Toyota that's now at the center of this police pursuit.
And from our notes we have here, Stu, it says that they were not able to confirm that they have a weapon. A weapon was not seen, but of course that doesn't mean that they don't have one.
Well, I think earlier, remember, they said that the driver had gestured that he had some sort of weapon, so I don't know if anybody's seen.
They may have thought that. That could have been a cell phone, We know that there has been a cell phone involved here, that's for sure. So now they are traveling on the southbound 405 freeway. Doesn't look like there's much traffic right now.
It is very wide open and very empty out here. Long Beach is the city that we're at. I know that I'm just looking out the window, so we're getting very close to the Long Beach airport. So we're just crossing it right now. So we're going to be out of the Long Beach area, and I think that's the doorway to the Orange County area. So that's basically the direction we're headed. The vehicle continues to move along, not driving that erratic anymore, but still speeds just under 100 miles an hour. Southbound 405, 3 people inside that vehicle, 2 suspects and a victim, as we understand it. California Highway Patrol, they've got at least 4 units behind there, meaning 4 ground crews, and the Sheriff's Department helicopter. That's what's overhead right now. They may swap out. The helicopters may swap out here shortly, but right now it's going to be the Sheriff's Department lighting it up, and the speed's just picking up a little bit. Maybe they listen to us there. 22 is going to be the next freeway that he's going to have a choice of. But it looks like southbound 405 is the plan right now.
Yeah, and that's interesting when you said plan, because it really doesn't look like they have too much of a plan, coming all the way from the Palmdale area, ending up in Long Beach, then turning around and going back southbound on the 405 freeway. The good thing here is we haven't seen, well, since they've been on the freeway anyway, any driving too erratically where other motorists on the freeway could possibly be in danger. They seem to be saying being relatively careful, if that's the right word to use.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is better when you get on the highway when everybody's going in the same direction. We saw that earlier when we got on those residential streets. In the side streets, there was a bicyclist that came pretty close to,
narrowly.
A
near miss.
Yeah, going through those intersections blindly, going through the red lights and the stop signs and whatnot. It's very dangerous as opposed to being on this highway where everybody's going the same direction. You don't want to have anybody go, this 100 miles an hour, but at the same time, I guess there's a level of safety in this situation more so than those side streets.
Stu, you were saying that they could be approaching Orange County. I wonder if CHP would ask them to participate in this.
Of course. The California Highway Patrol, they have divisions just like any other law enforcement. Theirs is a little bit different because they've got these thousands of miles of freeways that they patrol, but they definitely do. They've been switching off occasionally. We've watched as some of the units have dropped out and some of the other ones have pulled back in. I'm not sure how long the primary has been behind it, but I know for a fact just from watching that originally there was an SUV and now we have all the Chargers back there. So we know that they are swapping out. The Orange County California Highway Patrol definitely going to at some point they're going to swap out just to have fresh officers following this vehicle. And this is going to continue as he continues down the freeway and they move through divisions. There's no doubt about that. If they come up with a plan, if they do something, we've seen it in the past. I'm going to wait till he gets to the 5 freeway, but there's some spots on the 5 freeway where it is maybe more desolate, or they're able to control the flow of traffic better, and they might be able to do something. Very, very, very rarely has a pursuit made it from southern our part of California down to San Diego. So we'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, the weather seems good, and hopefully, if we're going to follow it, we'll be able to follow it that far.
Yeah.
Right now, though, California Highway Patrol just kind of doing the watch and wait. They're behind them, got the helicopter lighting them up, and hopefully something might transpire inside that vehicle. Somebody might come to their senses. Maybe they'll run out of gas. But hopefully something will bring this to an end before it has to come to an end forcefully.
If I remember correctly, there was one pursuit of a motorcyclist that went all the way down to South Orange County towards the San Diego area, and they lost him because of a high rate of speed, and it was night, and it was one of those things where they were able to get him a couple days later. But that was the last one I remember that went all the way from up here in L.A. down to the San Diego area.
Yeah, and usually when you get Orange County involved, they can be a lot more aggressive. We've seen them be a lot more aggressive.
Yeah.
But again, when you're talking about a situation here where an innocent person is in the vehicle possibly under duress or against her will, then that's against her will. That's another different situation.
This is a high priority call. Now, what we were talking about earlier, Pat, when it comes to something like this, you're on the highway. I think that does. We could maybe bring Stu in here. Does that eliminate the opportunity for them to use the stop sticks, because that's too dangerous, and that would be a way to get this car to slow down, to maybe diffuse this situation. But as long as they're on the highway, there's no way that they can use that, right?
Well, right here on the 405, this is a larger portion of freeway, many lanes. Once we get onto the South 5 freeway, once we get a little bit, maybe past San Capistrano, down in that area, it changes up. In that area, they have a little bit more control over the traffic. In the lanes, it's it's only a 2-lane freeway. So they might, or they may already be talking about possibly setting something up down there for the spike strips. Speed won't affect the spike strips per se, or that vehicle, because we know the tires don't blow out. There isn't this big explosion like we see on television. It's a very slow and controlled release of air from those tires. And the 2 lanes, it makes it easier much safer for the officers. They can just lay it out ahead of time. They'll control the traffic, lay it out ahead of time, and just wait for this vehicle to approach. If that happens, we'll see.
So
right now, though, I can tell you where. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, about how far are we away from that 2-lane section of the highway, you think?
Oh, we are quite a distance away. Okay. We're still on the 405. He has many options. I'm saying if he takes the 5, sure, and we plan on making our way down towards San Diego, that's way out there. Okay. So he has many options of other freeways. We're in the Westminster area right now, just so you guys know, and we're coming up on Springdale. I don't even know that off ramp because I don't make my way down to the Orange County that often. But southbound 405, we're in the Westminster area, and California Highway Patrol still in pursuit. And you can see that's what Pat was asking about, is the Orange County division, or I'm not even sure what they call themselves out here, but definitely a swap of vehicles. You can see right now there's a SUV behind it, and the chase continues. Now, are they going to use a pit? Not at these high speeds, but are they going to try to do something else? There's a good possibility of that.
Well, we've got certainly a number of law enforcement vehicles out there tonight, that's for sure, as well as that night sun overhead. And so far they have really made just some pretty even moves on the freeway driving. It doesn't seem like they're driving at a very high rate of speed, so really going with the flow of traffic, not that much traffic out there anyway, or to begin with. Yeah. We're all just hoping that this ends peacefully. You want to think that at some point, even if they run out of gas, it could be a standoff. They could just sit there and not want to get out the vehicle, and some other more dangerous situation could possibly happen from that. We're hoping certainly that's not the case, but you know, you can't help but think about all those different kinds of scenarios, as I'm sure law enforcement is thinking the same thing.
And you just wonder what's going on inside that vehicle. You hear all the time about the victim of a kidnapping who tries to talk to their captors and maybe try to befriend them or do something to win them over, to maybe calm them down. We see the driving has calmed down quite a bit. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe the dynamic inside this vehicle now has changed a little bit. Maybe the victim, we understand that's a woman in the back seat, is talking to those two people. Maybe she's able to calm that situation down. We don't know, but
and we don't know if they know each other.
Yeah.
They could possibly know each other.
But
we don't know that for
yeah,
sure.
We don't know the situation. We do know that there's a girlfriend in the back seat that's a victim of a kidnapping. The boyfriend was able to locate her through an app, and we understand at first this was a Palmdale is where it first happened, and somebody alerted Palmdale sheriff's deputy down there to witnessing this kidnapping and flagged down a deputy, gave the description, and then that's how they were able to locate this vehicle. And then we also understand there's communication between the victim and the boyfriend as well. This is a red Toyota. This started more than an hour ago, this pursuit. And this is all started in Palmdale now, as you see it here on the 405 going southbound. At one point in time, Pat, was the 405, the 101, the 110, northbound 710, southbound 405 now.
Yeah, they've been everywhere.
Sure,
Exactly where are we? Stu, can we get another
Right.
location from you, sir?
Yes, definitely. We're in the Fountain Valley area. We're approaching Warner. Fountain Valley Boulevard is going to be the next exit. Southbound 405. You know what? If we if I get the official nod, I think I can even turn on the map tracker just for a little bit. We can get that speedometer up. You can see the graphics that give us the information where we're at exactly as this pursuit continues southbound. We're working there, changing the frequencies. California Highway Patrol, like Pat was asking about. We've changed areas, so they're changing their frequency. So I'm trying to follow along the best I can inside the helicopter, just to get that little bit of inside information that possibly. And we got the official nod, so I'm going to turn on the map tracker real quick, and you can see there where we are, and you can also see the speedometer. So, because I was wondering too, how fast are we really going? We've been tracking along. We're going about 91 miles an hour, 92 miles an hour, following, and we've been tracking pretty well. So, and that's just about what the speedometer, the map tracker is showing. So, we're getting a little bit of legitimacy to our speed guess. And you can see southbound 405, and right there we're in the Fountain Valley area.
You know what, Stu? Some information. If this is, this is all, I don't want to say completely confirmed, but what I'm reading here in terms of notes, that this passenger is paralyzed. There's a gang member from Lenox known to have several firearms who could possibly be behind the wheel of this vehicle, or at least in the vehicle. And again, that makes it another a difficult situation, but it's interesting how law enforcement has this information. But again, when they say paralyzed, I don't know exactly what that means. It's paralyzed that they can't get out themselves, or, because the person that called this in apparently didn't give that much of a description in terms of them taking this woman against her will.
Yeah, that's it's interesting, and it's always odd when they use descriptives like paralyzed. I don't know if that's paralyzed from fear. I'm getting that same type of read. It's like, why would they say paralyzed? The information they're getting, though, they might have got the registration from the vehicle. They might know who that person is, that it's registered to. And then, of course, the law enforcement, they've got a lot of resources, and they might be able to put all this together. Who's the known associate? Who does this person hang out with? Or maybe it is even that Lenox gang member that they're talking about may actually own that vehicle. So all that, you know what? If the law enforcement is giving out that information to our assignment desk, I take that as the gospel. That is the truth. So I believe that, and that adds, like I said, this all adds to the legitimacy of what's going on, the danger of what is going on. Now, again, kidnapping, that's unusual to say the least. all the times I've been doing news, I've never actually seen an actual kidnapping. Maybe a domestic, like somebody taking their own children, but other than that, this is probably the first kidnapping that I've ever covered.
Yeah, we understand that there are adults. These are adults that the kidnapping here. Everybody involved is adults, and this is a situation where we have this suspect vehicle, this red Toyota, the center of this pursuit, being followed by CHP. 2 suspects inside, possibly armed. There's a woman kidnapped victim in the back seat of that red Toyota. And we do understand that this all started in Palmdale, where the deputy was flagged down by a witness of a kidnapping, gave the description of the persons and the vehicle, and that led to the pursuit here that we're seeing now. And that was quite more than an hour ago. I understand the girlfriend has been texting the boyfriend from inside the vehicle, and he was able to locate her through an app on his phone and possibly help out law enforcement to get to that vehicle. So, Stu, where are we right now?
We're southbound 405 Anaheim is where we are. We're going to be approaching the. So we're actually solid in Anaheim right now. So we're going to be by the 55, I believe, if we haven't passed it already. We did pass the 55, so we're going to be cut. And I'm just getting information that they would like the map to go away. So there we go. So anyway, Jamboree's going to be the next off-ramp, so definitely now in the Irvine area. The cities out here move very quickly, but they are definitely continuing on the 405, and as I'm pretty sure, eventually the 405 just kind of dumps you onto the 5. So we're going to keep moving along down here. The freeways, the conditions might change a little bit. Like we know, the freeway is going to get a little bit smaller. You can see, again, officers from the California Highway Patrol. They're basically swapping out as they're making their way, continuing southbound. And like Pat said, for some reason, the Orange County, the California Highway Patrol, just maybe a little bit more aggressive. So we'll see what happens here as we continue on. It's going to be a good couple of minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so. The vehicle's slowing down, though, a little bit as we're getting into the Irvine area. So like I've been hoping is that maybe they'll run out of gas. I mean, if they started in Palmdale with a full tank, yeah, it looks like something's definitely going on. All of a sudden, they're really slowing it down.
Well, that's hopefully that is a good sign. And, you know, I'm just looking on a map, too, Stu, and the Lenox area is that's quite a ways from Palmdale, and certainly from where this vehicle is right now, that's for sure. And I reference Lenox because according to our notes from CHP, this purported gang member is from the Lenox area. This is the person that could have kidnapped this woman and taken her against her will.
They're talking about doing a pit here?
I'm just, if the vehicle continues to slow down, they might want to forcefully bring it to an end.
What was that?
They're talking about closures out here. He's just driving erratically. They're talking about a lot of closures out here. You can see the cones are out on the roadway, so perhaps they have some construction going on. But the vehicle now is just kind of swerving for no reason. We don't want to push in too close because we don't want to. If something goes wrong on the inside, we don't want to be. We want to be responsible in our reporting. So we're going to keep an eye on it. But it definitely seems like either the vehicle is giving up, or the driver is. But I'm guessing. I'm guessing that swerving. He might just be hoping that. Sloshing the gas around a little bit. Don't know. They got some hands out the window already. Some weird gesturing. So we're gonna stay.
Okay, it looks like
ready to move quickly if something goes wrong. But a lot of activity right now as this vehicle coming to a stop here, southbound 405 near Culver Drive.
You know what, Stu? It did come to a stop right now.
Abrupt stop, yeah. It's almost like somebody.
And it looks like are there lights? We haven't seen that before. In the back of that vehicle?
The lights are on inside the vehicle. The lights are definitely on inside the vehicle.
Inside the vehicle.
And
okay.
I'd like to go a little closer, but
no, I don't blame you. We can't do that.
Take a look at that, though.
Wow.
The officers from California Highway Patrol, they are out here in force. There was some hand motions earlier on from the driver's side. Not sure if that's the driver basically doing the "I'm giving up. Here's my hands."
Yeah, we could see some movement,
but,
Stu.
Yeah, And it definitely does seem like the surrender type of movement inside that vehicle. But because of the fact that there's so much talk about a weapon, they are definitely going to be very, very cautious about approaching this vehicle, and very cautious when the victims and the suspect make their way out of this vehicle.
Doors opening, Stu.
Well, you know the way
driver's side doors opening.
The way that car stopped so abruptly is like somebody just threw it in a park, as we see here.
My guess is it was running out of fuel, and they were doing that swerving back and forth to slosh the gas around a little bit, hopefully to get it to go again. And like you said, eventually it was just kind of coasting, and he probably did just throw it into park. The driver out right now. I'm sure there's directions over the PA or the public announcement systems for those police vehicles. So because they are a distance away, you can see that how far away they are from that vehicle. And this is like I said, a very high priority type of stop, I think is the word that they use. And you can see right now they're going to be very cautious about taking this suspect, this is the driver, suspect, into custody.
And we know that there are 2 suspects and 1 victim, and we have seen them in the past have those suspects walk backwards all the way to where the officers are. This is quite the distance, but still we've seen them do that.
Well, he's got his hands on his head, and he's beginning the walk. And I could just imagine, Stu, to hear that megaphone out there telling him to stop, or to, if you have a weapon, they want to see it or throw it out.
Keys and whatnot.
The vehicle. Yeah. So this is still a very tense situation, because as we have been saying, according to law enforcement, there were 2 suspects in that vehicle and a victim, a kidnapping victim. And this is the driver who is making that slow walk, as you mentioned, Stu, and they're doing it backwards too, right?
He's making pretty good time. He's almost there. Yeah, and this is going to happen that he'll have to get his waistband cleared by the police beforehand. They always make him, put his arms up and show that there's no weapon around his waist, because there has been a report or 2 that one of these suspects, one of these people inside this vehicle had a weapon. So that's obviously very.
They suspect it, not confirmed, but they think it could have been, or they could have been armed, considering if this is the person they think it is, the gang member from Lenox, so to speak, they would have more information about him. Okay, Stu, what are we looking at now?
The officers are putting the cuffs on the driver. And just so, just for a little clarification, I am listening to what the California Highway Patrol are talking about to their dispatch. And, even us in the media, we try to confirm and we try to get the information as right as possible all the time. But just to let you know, even the dispatcher now saying to the officers, possible victim inside the vehicle. 2 suspects, possible victim. So if there's no victim, it's just one of those things where we're following the information that's been given to us. And again, but there's a good possibility that there is a victim inside there. So that driver in custody right now. Now I would think that they would have tried to get the victim out first. I would think that they would be over the PA saying we need the victim out. But if this victim is paralyzed in the physical sense of paralyzed, possibly they know that, and there's maybe she needs assistance to get out of the vehicle.
Yeah. And you know what? How would they discern that, Stu? Because if they don't know for sure that there's another, if they don't know for sure if there is not, well, here's the door opening on the passenger side. So if that would be that second.
We think
suspect,
that's the second suspect. Yeah,
if the victim is paralyzed and cannot move, from reports that we've heard, this is crucial. They close the door again, Stu.
I thought the protocol was to have the driver of the vehicle come out first so they can disable the vehicle. I mean, I don't know if that's exactly right, but that would make sense to have the driver get out so there's no chance that if there was the victim to come out that would get run over or they took off or whatever the case may be.
Okay, let's get back up to Stu. We saw that door open.
We're watching just along with you. The door was open, and then it did close again. Definitely, it looks as if though that there's other hands involved. So they're probably telling them, whoever that person is, to open the door, hands where we can see them. that type of situation, and then obviously exit. But why they're not exiting any faster than they are, that is a little unusual. Brennan is working to get the helicopter back over to just a little bit more so we can see inside that door and take a look what's going on. But it does look like this is the first time maybe even the back windows are down, so there might actually be 3 people inside this vehicle.
And again, we see that door open. We don't see anybody getting out right now, but
yeah.
And again, I guess
very slow moving.
Yeah,
the back windows are definitely open.
Okay, somebody's doing something. I can see some more movement.
Yeah, the back windows are open, and you can see another hand out the back window there. So I don't know why the passenger has not left the vehicle as of yet. I'm hoping it is because the officers, for some reason, are telling him not to. But we're just keep an eye on it. But hands are out. Hands are where we can see them. So that's a huge plus in itself. But why this person is not just getting out of the vehicle, that's a little unusual. Just going a little bit wider just to see what the officers are doing. You can see one of the vehicles, a lot of the vehicles now moving a little bit closer. So maybe they told him, don't come out of the car. So that maybe they're getting a little bit closer to the car, possibly for that victim.
Oh, well, you know, that was interesting. Was that car moving and the officers actually walking behind the door?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Wow.
They're using their cars as shields, and they got significantly closer to that vehicle. And I'm sure that's the reason what was going on. I'm sure they told the the passenger not to get out of the car, just hands where we can see them, and they made their way a little bit closer. You just saw that move, and but you can see hands are out, and very little movement inside that car. And I'm sure now they might be telling the passenger to make his way out of that vehicle.
Yeah, and you know that suspect in custody right now, they're talking to him to try to get information as to what's going on with the vehicle. Obviously, he's in the back of a patrol car right now, handcuffed, but you know that they're talking to him and asking that person, you know, what is going on here and what can we do to make sure this comes to a safe conclusion. I'm sure. As we continue, do we have a cross? This is the 405 southbound, Stu. Do we have a crossroad
southbound
here?
405. We're right at Culver Drive, but I think Lake Forest is.
Lake Forest.
It might be the next off ramp, but it's showing up as southbound 405 at Culver Drive. We're in Irvine, but just at the border of the town of Lake Forest, and I think the next off ramp is going to be Lake Forest.
You know, it would have been helpful if when we got that description from that person who was talking to Palmdale sheriff's deputies about this woman being taken against her will, and if she is paralyzed, was she in a wheelchair of some sort? Or how was she able to get around? How were they able to discern that she was paralyzed? These were just in the notes. Don't know for sure.
There you go. I think it was paralyzed with fear because that female getting out the rear passenger, definitely out standing, out physically standing on her own and doing what the officers are telling her. She's also lifting her shirt and doing, making sure that she does not have a weapon. The passenger, maybe the passenger is the one that is the very dangerous suspect in this situation. We don't know. We don't have that information, but.
So, Stu, you're saying
very, very dangerous.
You're saying this woman that we're looking at here got out of the back seat of that car?
Definitely got out the back seat, Pat. There's no doubt about it. And I would assume that this is the victim. And the sheriffs are saying that too. They're confirming it right now that this is the victim. But they're going to treat her pretty much like a suspect. Like you saw her lift her shirt and make sure that she doesn't have a weapon because you just don't know what the dynamic is, how this whole thing went down. They may even cuff her just because they don't know. They just don't know how this went down and until they can sort it all out. So you can see her doing the same thing the driver did, down on her knees there, the cuffs going on, and they're probably going to take her and question her and until they know for sure that she is a true victim of this whole situation. they're probably going to keep her in cuffs and talk to her. There's a good possibility that the passenger inside that vehicle is the one that was the very violent or dangerous suspect.
And his hands are sticking out of the window right now. That might be what they're telling him to do until they get him out on the pavement.
Yeah, if he has a weapon, tell him to toss it.
Yep.
So Pat, it just gets more. I'm going to call it interesting. It's going to get more interesting.
Don't tell me it's a hoax.
So now they're saying that the passenger might be the paralyzed, and this might not be from fear. This might be physically paralyzed. The passenger might physically need assistance getting out of that vehicle. So we're going to keep an eye on this and see how the officers handle that, but that might be the reason why the passenger did not get out.
Now,
did you see something?
I was going to say, did we see that person at least get halfway out of the door at one point in time?
We saw the door open. We see the hands out, but I've never actually seen the legs come out of that vehicle. This is what we're seeing right here is pretty much the most that we've seen all evening.
As you said, very interesting, Stu, because for the police to make that call that this person is paralyzed and this person is the victim, they would have to approach the vehicle. And they wouldn't want to do that.
Pat, nobody said that the passenger was a victim. Nobody said a victim. They just said that the passenger may be physically paralyzed.
Well, no, that's true.
That's what it is.
That's true. They don't have to be a victim. They could be paralyzed and be a suspect. It's very, very true there.
Yes.
So I wonder how this is going to occur. If this person is physically challenged, can't get out there, I would assume the officers would have to come up to the vehicle, guns drawn, and help to get that person out.
That's what I was trying to ask Stu. That's why this would make it very interesting, because if they feel this person could possibly be armed, whether they're paralyzed or not, that's going to present a difficult situation for them. How do they approach the vehicle?
That could be very dangerous if it's somebody that just refuses to get up, and you're talking about possible weapon inside the vehicle. You know, that's a high level of training that they have. I know they go through scenarios all the time and situations, but this is certainly one that I haven't seen at any point in time where there's somebody that might be physically challenged in the front seat of a car that cannot get out following a pursuit, and you know that they were asking that person to comply.
And we know how situations are very fluid. Information is very fluid. The initial information we received from that person who talked to the Palmdale sheriffs was that the woman was in the backseat of the car.
That's right.
That's definitely what it was.
No, they are definitely getting closer.
You can see how the officers are getting closer to that vehicle, so it does seem like it is coming out that the passenger was the one that is physically paralyzed, and you can see the officers making their way over to the driver's side, the passenger side door, weapons drawn. I'm wondering why they're not having that door open, though. That's kind of interesting. But you know what? They're trained in tactics. We're trained in watching. So I'm gonna leave that up to them. Definitely a ballistic shield involved as well. It's a little dark down there, but that center officer, the one wearing the jacket, he's got a ballistic shield in front of him. So just in case there is a weapon, the officers are at least protected somewhat. And but it definitely looks like now they're doing the code 4, and it definitely looks like the passenger was the one who was paralyzed. They're taking him out of the vehicle. Now, if they're opening up the back, they're definitely they're taking him out because they have to cuff him.
There might be a wheelchair or something in the back.
May be, there they go. That's what they're going after. They're going after the wheelchair that's in the back of the vehicle.
So what, and again, have we confirmed, Stu, that this person is the suspect who's paralyzed and whose wheelchair was in the trunk of that car, or do we know for sure?
This is definitely a suspect. Even though he's paralyzed, this is definitely a suspect, along with the driver. Those are two suspects, and the female. We're still calling her a victim, but how much of a victim? That's all going to come out later on when the investigation is finally taken care of.
Now, see how this story, this whole thing, will have more information, obviously, when we find out. But yeah, if she is not an actual victim, remember we said in the beginning, we don't know, do they know each other? Was this some kind of domestic situation? But Stu, great job. As we know now that everyone that was in that car is in custody, and they are getting this person that was taken out of the passenger side is in the wheelchair that was in the trunk of this red Toyota.
And after this started at 11 o'clock in Palmdale, almost 2 hours later, we come to this conclusion, and it's a good one. Nobody's injured. Nobody was hit by this vehicle. We thought maybe there might, at a point in time, there might have been some weapons, and nobody was injured at all, and it looks like this has all come to a safe conclusion.
Well, Stu, we're going to let you make that code 4 call.
It's over, and like Jeff was just mentioning, nobody hurt, which is fantastic, and it does look like the vehicle ran out of gas in the end, but it all coming to an end, starting in Palmdale, ending out here in the Irvine Lake Forest area. Everybody in custody, and they're going to sort this all out, but very dangerous driving, very dangerous situation, and all the officers involved doing a fantastic job.
There's no question about that. That's law enforcement at its finest, and we have... they've got some assistance.
Absolutely.
But you'd like to see them working together, and that airship overhead certainly never lost its tracks. Okay, well, Stu, we're going to bid you and Brendan a good night, and we're going to have a good night ourselves. We're going to turn our viewers back to our regular KCAL 9 programming.